Hello, I hope that this video finds you well. I am going to be redoing problem number 5 and problem number 10 down here. So I wish that I could have a better visual, but this is the work that I've done, and I'm just going to explain how I solved the answer in a new way. So the first problem is problem number 5. We have the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared times the cosine of 5 divided by x. And it's actually in the problem. It says using the squeeze theorem, which we will use, show the limit of this function as x approaches 0. So going back to here, the cosine of 5 divided by x is going to be always in between the values of -1 and 1. We can look at that over here. I actually have the graph of Desmos, and you can see here's the red graph. It's always in between 1 and -1. So that's the minimum and the maximum value that the function will ever reach. This function, cosine of 5 divided by x, is squeezed in between the larger function of the function, x squared. It's actually going to be squeezed in between negative x squared and positive x squared, because these values can go a lot higher than 1 and -1. So in order to find the limit of this function, we actually only need to plug in the 0 into negative x squared and positive x squared. So when we do that, we have 0 squared, which is 0, and 0 squared again. So this function will be squeezed in between the larger function of x squared, and therefore we can determine that the limit of x squared cosine of 5 divided by x as x approaches 0 is equal to 0 by the squeeze theorem. Alright. I hope that explanation was good enough. Yeah. Now, number 10. I actually got the right answer here, so I'm surprised I didn't get more points. I suppose the way I solved it was not what the teacher was looking for. But I did get the right answer, and the way that I'm just going to explain the way that I solved this was I took really large values for t and just started plugging them in and got closer and closer to infinity. I started off with 100, I think, and I was like, okay, square root of 100 is 10, plus 100 squared, and I just solved it. And then I plugged in 1,000, 10,000, I think I went all the way up to like 100,000, and I stopped, and I found that I was getting closer and closer to -1. I thought that would be a sufficient way of solving it, and I did get the right answer, but apparently the teacher did not like that way of solving it and gave me 0 points for the credit of that. So that will never be the way that I solve it again, even though it led me to the right answer. So the way that I'm going to solve it this time is actually I just look at whatever the highest whatever is raised to the highest power on the numerator and the denominator, and that's going to be t squared on both sides. So ignoring basically the 8t and the root t, we're just going to look at t squared over negative t squared. And we're going to look at the coefficients of what is in front of t squared and negative t squared. So in front of t squared, there's actually a 1, and negative t squared, there's a -1. And when we solve this, we'll see that the limit as t approaches infinity is -1.